Ladies and gentlemen, please take your seats.
You know, boys and girls, the Shortcuts program is such a important proving ground for the next generation of filmmakers, and guess what? If you're within the sound of my voice, that must mean you're in the seats with once more. As always, my name is Dave Voigt, and I'm the host of this podcast, where we sit down with a wide-ranging variety of entertainment industry professionals, and we pick their brain about current projects, state of the industry, how they got started, and so very much more in a light and in a conversational fashion. You know, if you like how we do things around here, I'm going to assume that you do, because let's face it, you're listening right now. And if you are, please subscribe. Hit that subscribe button, give us the old 5-star rating on your podcast provider of choice. We're available pretty much everywhere, places like Apple, Amazon, Spotify, Google, and plus we archive every single one of our episodes over at our In the Seats YouTube channel. So if you can give us a like and subscribe there as well, we'd absolutely appreciate it. Also, don't hesitate to check us out on social media. We're on the Facebook, we're on the Twitter, we're on the Instagram, we're on the Letterboxd, we're on the TikTok, and, well, hell, we're probably at a few other places too, at In the Seats, for all sorts of fun updates, and finally, and I do dare say, most importantly, please pay us a visit over at In the Seats, intheseats.ca, for all the latest and greatest from the world of film, television, basically the moving image at large, because guess what? If we love to watch it and write about it and talk about it, we love it even more when you come by and read about it and listen about it. So please, pay us a visit. On this episode, boys and girls, we got a good one. We are in the thick of the TIFF sanity because the Toronto International Film Festival, the 48th edition of it, is running from September 7th through the 17th here in our fair city with a myriad of fantastic selections. Even though there's not a lot of stars this year, there's still a lot of good stuff to see. So if you're on the fence, take a chance, go see a movie. I do wholeheartedly encourage it. And I mean, one place to really take a good chance and see some stuff is in the short films program, in the Shortcuts program, specifically, as it were. There's usually 5 or 6 of them every year. There's 6 this year. And we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with one of the filmmakers in the Shortcuts program number 2, which is having its debut on this coming Friday at Scotiabank. If you love shorts, if you want to see something different at the festival, go see some shorts, because there's some good stuff. The one we are talking about today is we are talking with director Kasey Lum about his short film Bloom, which was really, really fantastic. It's a nice little sort of psychological look at our innate desire to sort of connect to nature, you know, and how, you know, we go back to these things in our more fragile moments. And it's really an interesting piece, and it is it's a good movie. It's starring Jodie Balfour, who you may know from shows like Ted Lasso and The Crown, and it's from writer-director Kasey Lum, who is definitely a filmmaker on the up and up, who, because he's been working on a bunch of different stuff, including some TV series that are coming down the pipe. He's done a bunch of music videos, and we had the unique pleasure of sitting down and talking with him at Second Cup before a big TIFF press conference we had a couple of weeks back, and he is he's a fantastic interview and a really fascinating guy, and I can't wait to see more from him, because I think he's a filmmaker with some real potential too. But like I said, if you're attending TIFF this year, you want to try something different, go check out a shorts program. But first, enjoy our talk with one of the directors of those shorts, like I said, the one and only Kasey Lum, and his film Bloom, because it's a good little film, and it was an even better talk. So please enjoy. To kick this off, and congrats on the short, man. I thought it was absolutely fucking fantastic.
Thank you.
Walk me through like the origin of this story.
The origin of the story is it started sort of over COVID. Thank you. It started over COVID during lockdown and being stuck inside with. I was sort of a new plant owner.
Right.
So I had new fiddle figs, and I was just stuck inside all day. And I sort of just watched the plant grow and change, and like every day there's a new sprout, leaf. And I'd never been around plants that had changed that much. So it sort of gave me the idea of this thing that's with you all the time. and it's like a living being with you. So that's kind of where the seed of the idea started. And then I was figuring out ways to show this change and the relationship. Though I haven't experienced a breakup like this, the relationship felt like the right way to show that change for this plant.
For sure.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, I love that this was born out of COVID because, I mean, honestly, parts of it felt like it was almost like abstract sci-fi or horror, just with sort of the way you shot it and the way everything was staged. Like, I'm kind of curious because, I mean, this really has a very distinct visual feel, like, because you're either above or you're below. You're never quite on par with Jodie. But, I mean, talk to me a little bit how you wanted this to visually feel.
Visually, the main thing was it needed to be shot on film. So we shot on 35 mil. And we wanted to just make it feel have a one tone,
right?
Like one tone throughout the whole thing. And I think we got away with, there wasn't really an idea to film, above or below Jodie's character,
right?
But it ended up falling into place that way, and it could have been, the story did lend itself to like these shots of her walking down through the space drunk, and we were, kind of below their eye line. But yeah, shooting on 35 did really give it that unique feeling that I don't think digital could do.
Now, I mean, shooting on 35 for a short filmmaker, that feels brave.
There's a resurgence of shooting on film.
Well, for sure, yeah.
And any chance I can get, I try to. Yeah, you got to find some more funding, but I try to find that funding and get the film made. And people are pretty. Like, this was shot on the West Coast, so in Vancouver they have means of finding film and shooting on 35 or 16.
Well, and there's a tactile nature to it as well, right?
Yeah.
That sort of adds an extra layer to the production.
It's visceral filmmaking. You can hear the film running through the camera, so it's you got to perform or do the best you can when you hear that.
And I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I mean, especially when you're shooting like a short, I can imagine like you're buying like end runs of reel. Like, you're not necessarily buying full reels.
We bought 4,000 foot rolls of new film. So,
wow. Okay.
So we did splurge a little bit, but we do find short ends, and we do for the shower scene we did use some old stock that somebody had graciously given us. So
I love it.
Yeah.
Now, I mean, obviously, like, how long of a production is going to be something like this? Because, I mean, again, shooting on film, it's going to take extra time. You're not necessarily going to be in playback sort of a minute later,
Yeah, it took. We didn't have a lot of time to shoot it. We shot it over 2 days.
Right.
It helped to be confined to one space most of the time, but it did pose a bit of a challenge because the space was so small that shooting both sides of the apartment, we had to like move everything to one side, hide everybody, shoot Jodie or the plant, then flip, and half the day was essentially moving back and forth.
Take a sip, please.
Thank you.
It's early.
It is early, and I flew over my bike handle, so I'm gonna need to.
Yeah, I gotta ask though, because it's one of those things where I'm always so fascinated by sort of the process of short filmmaking. Because I mean, I know you've done a few, and you've just finished work on a TV show, that kind of thing. But I'm kind of curious, what is it about the short film form that is so important? Because I mean, especially going into something like TIFF, like, people don't necessarily know or understand like what an important platform short film is for you to sort of get your stuff seen and sort of get other jobs.
Yeah, so this is my second short, and they're just a great way to explore filmmaking, and I'm always going to be exploring filmmaking, but it's a great way to sort of try to get into the world of narrative, and like you could be doing experimental films, but I try to stick to narrative and surrealism, and this for me is an exercise in growing my voice as a filmmaker. So.
Right.
And they do, like, I mean, I got into TIFF, so it's amazing, and I couldn't have done it without even trying to make this. Like I couldn't have done it making it. I think making features a way larger feat, and this is a good way to, you know, take it one step at a time.
I mean, walk me through that emotion, like sort of getting that call and being accepted. I've got to imagine it's a different beast because, I mean, obviously you can submit to all the film festivals in the world and you'll get into some, you won't get into others, but getting to something like TIFF, which is definitely sort of a different tier, I can imagine it's got to feel great on your end.
Yeah, it feels amazing. It feels great that it's a Canadian festival as well, being Canadian, and just the impact it has all over the world. It's like all the eyes that see this festival. It's quite overwhelming. And the funny thing is I was the second person to receive the call. First it was the producers, and I was playing golf with them at the time, and he's one of the producers running up to me, Christoph, like throwing his hands in the air, and I knew the announcements were maybe around the corner, but I didn't exactly know.
Right.
I thought maybe he hit a nice shot, but it ended up being TIFF, and I was like, that's amazing. And I didn't play good golf after that because I was shaking. But that's better news than playing a good golf game. So,
how is, especially being Canadian and being at a festival like TIFF, how is that for just terms of, I guess, showcasing sort of the breadth of like Canadian filmmaking and Canadian storytelling? Because I mean, again, when we look at the general public and they think Canadian film, like there's almost that sort of, you know, beachcombers, corner gas kind of mentality to it. But really, when you dive into it, Canadian storytelling and filmmaking and TV even has gotten so diverse and so complex.
Yeah, there's a lot of great Canadian content out there, and I'm excited to. I start diving more into Canadian creators.
Right.
And it's amazing how many people you don't realize are Canadian that are.
Yeah.
That have made it big, and you look at their old work and you're like, I think that maybe some Canadian content has a stigma that it's like, it's not American.
Right.
I think we can create just as great things, and there's more opportunities for it. Like this film was originally self-funded, but then I applied for the Art Council grants, Canada Art Council, and we got a grant. So it really, there's governments giving out, like there's places to find money and create this type of stuff. Obviously, you just need to go out and find it and do the work, but it's out there, and the content can be made, and it's great.
No, and I mean, it allows for such a diverse array of voices as well. And I mean, it's one of those things where you don't, you know, we have this preconceived notion of what Canadian content is, and usually it's it's a nerdy looking white guy. I mean, it's me probably, but I mean, opposite, like it's so not that. It's so many different other people, men, women, people of all different colors, races, sizes.
Very diverse.
Yeah,
and you know, like it's a great time to be making films, like as a underrepresented filmmaker.
Yeah.
I'm Chinese heritage, so there's opportunity out there to make things, and for people to support it too. So it's a good time to be making films
for sure,
and being alive.
Absolutely, man. Now, I mean, I gotta ask. I mean, just to start putting a bow on this. I mean, it's a silly question, but it's one I always like to ask. Yeah. Was there like a movie or a moment in your life where you were watching something and sort of that light bulb went off, and you're like, you know what, I gotta do this? You can say Star Wars if you have to, but is there something else?
That's a deep question. I've never been asked that. So it could have been. I mean, I've watched movies growing up with my parents and stuff, but I never really knew that this was a trajectory this was the career that I wanted to go down. And I think till this day, Jerry Maguire is a film that I adore, and I think it's just like it pulls on the heartstrings, and there's so many classic sayings that come from that film.
Right. Yeah.
That now that I look back at it, that could be a film that I was wondering how can it, every time I watch this, can it make me feel the same way and I would love to learn about that, like how to make things do that to you. So I think that's.
I love that answer, though. I mean, you had me at hello. I mean, it's such a simple line, but it still plays so well. And I mean, and that movie had such a clear sort of emotional arc while still being entertaining as all hell, you know?
For sure. You loving me now, Jerry? Or show me the money?
Show me, oh, of course, yeah.
Like, these are all classics. And that sort of thing gets me excited about films, how you can, you know, create this capsule and create this moment in time and carry it through generations. It's pretty amazing. So that might be the moment. One of the times I was watching Jerry Maguire, I'm sure I got to learn how to do this.
I love it. I love it. Now, I mean, just last question. TIFF is happening. You're walking down the street. You meet someone. They're like, "Oh, you're a filmmaker. Oh, you've got a short film You're in a short film program." If they don't understand the value of short film, what do you say to them to say, you know what, I'm going to go buy a ticket to a short film program? Not necessarily yours, but even just short film program in general.
So sorry, the question is, what would I say to them to push them
to push them to sort of experience short film for the first time?
And they're not a filmmaker.
No, they're just a general person on the street.
I would say to them, there's something nice about watching a story take place in under a feature length.
Yeah.
Something digestible, something that you can, because I know people that, you know, fall asleep in 2-hour movies.
Right, yeah.
So this is something that can be done, that you could go in and watch maybe half an hour or less film, and you can get a full story and feel a certain way and have a new perspective on life, possibly.
Yeah.
And TIFF it's just that if you want to be around like a buck on energy, I'm sure TIFF is the place to go and see something. You know? Yeah,
and it's proof positive, man. You can still be cinematic in sort of that truncated space.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think it's absolutely a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it is very much so. And there's so much still possible with, you know, film. I still think is very young, and there's so much more to explore.
Oh, amen. Yeah.
If anybody's feeling doubt and afraid of that, this is it. We've reached the peak. AI is taking over. It's not the case.
No, absolutely. No, I love that. That's a great note to end on, man. But honestly, Kasey, just thank you again for the time, man, and just congrats on the short.
Thank you so much, Dave.
Alrighty.
And don't forget to visit our friends over at Bay Street Video for all your DVD, Blu-ray rental, or purchasing needs this summer, as they are still open for curbside and some mailing delivery as well. Over at 1172 Bay Street, Toronto, Ontario, Canada, you can give them a call at 416-964-9088. That's 416-964-9088. Or send them an email at baystreetvideoto@gmail.com for any of your DVD and Blu-ray needs.